Hello, BW, your girl Fee here, bringing you 5 minutes of Wisdom Wednesday. And please excuse me because I'm giggling. My daughter is sitting at the table with me and she's being silly. And so I ask you all to bear with me today as I do this Wisdom Wednesday. I'm going to try not to look at her and try not to laugh at her. Also, you may see me looking over to my left. And the reason I'm looking over to my left, because this will be the very first time that I do a video for my YouTube channel as well as my podcast. So for those of you who don't know, BW has a podcast. Yes, we have a podcast. So if you go to iTunes, type in BW, we're on iTunes. Type in BW. We're also on Google Play for those who have Androids. And so you can be a part of the BW podcast. And we have fun on the podcast. A lot of times I have my daughter-in-law on me. I have my son on with me. I have my friend Kay on me. And we just talk about everyday real life issues on our podcast. And so tune in and listen in to the BW podcast. But today I normally do my Wisdom Wednesday separate. And then I do my podcast so I can interact with my audience on the podcast, because they really get into the topic and they leave their feedback, and some of them even call in. And so it's really fun doing the podcast. But today, or this week, I decided to kill two birds in one stone. So again, I want to try to keep it under 5 minutes. So let's get into today's topic, which is called Get Your Life. And if anybody follow Tamar Braxton, I've been following the Braxtons for a while. And one of the popular sayings that you will always hear Tamar say is get your life. You heard her say that over and over again. And so what prompted this video is because my husband and I, this weekend, we went on our anniversary trip. And so we were flying to Boston, but we had a layover in Charlotte. And so during that hour layover, I decided to pull up my Xfinity stream. And of course, I was watching Get Your Life. I had taped the episode, so I was able to watch it from my phone. And of course, she's going to say what she's going to always say, and that's Get Your Life. And so as I thought about that, it reminded me of the journey that we're on as women, trying to be better women, trying to be better wives. And so when she said, get your life, I'm like, that's exactly what we need to do. Not only do we need to get our life, we need to get our purpose-filled life. And so that's what prompted today's 5-minute Wisdom Wednesday. So I'm just coming to you today to tell you to get your life. And while you're getting your life, get your purpose-filled life. Get your peace-filled life. Get your drama-free life. Get your healthy life. Get your debt-free life. Get your no-nonsense life going on. Get your holy life going on, okay? So, yeah, we really do need to get our life, but we just need to be very clear on what type of life we really trying to get. We need to be very clear on what type of life we're trying to have. So yes, we absolutely need to get our life. And as we're thinking about getting our lives, we need to get into mode. And when I say that, I mean, we either need to be in princess mode or we need to get in queen mode. But I'm here to admonish you, hey, we need to do it queen style. It's no longer princess mode. We're not little girls anymore, but we are now queens. We're queens of our household, queens of our relationships, and queens of our life. And so when I think about, because my son, one of the things he always tell me, because every year he go on this health journey where he's trying to lose weight. And one of the things he said, when he started losing weight and he fall below that 20 pounds, he'd be like, Mama, I'm in beast mode. I'm in beast mode. And so what I want us to do on our journey is to get into queen mode, you know, because when I think about princess mode, y'all know that I have a daughter that I love dearly. I talk about her all the time. And from the time she was born, I call her my princess. This girl about to be 20 come December, and I'm still calling her princess, okay? So when I think about a princess, I'm thinking about a teenager. I'm thinking about a very young adult. But if you're 35 and older, you should no longer be in princess mode. You should be in queen mode, sis. Okay, so when I think about princess mode, because when I think about princess mode, I think about my daughter. My daughters always think about, what can my mom and daddy do for me? What can y'all give me? What can y'all do for me? That's princess mode. You thinking about what other people can do for you. When my daughter don't get her way, she's quick to throw a temper tantrum. That's princess mode. You know, what can my mama do for me? What can my boyfriend do for me? She's thinking about who's going to take her to the next level. You know, princess mode. You know, who gonna make me happy? What can you do to make me happy? Princess mode, okay? Spoil mode, brat mode, okay? But when you think about queen mode, and like I said, this is for 35 and older, baby. If you're 35 and older, you should not have that princess mindset like my 19-year-old. We should be in queen mode. We're not looking for people when we're over 35 to make us happy, because we realize once we get to that point that happiness comes from within. That's queen mode. In queen mode, we're not having temper tantrums. We putting our big girl panties on and we making it do what we do, and we doing whatever we got to do to make it. In princess mode, you're not trying to see what somebody can do for you. You're trying to see what you can give back to the world, okay? Or what you can do for yourself. You're not dependent on nobody else to do anything for you. So that's when I talk about queen mode. So we all have to get into queen mode on our Better Woman Wife journey. It's no longer time for the princess mode. It's no time for the bratty mode no more. You know, we should have put that behind us once we hit that 35, the age of 35. And so that's one of the things that I wanted to bring to the Wisdom Wednesday. And so another thing that I want to talk about during this 5 minutes is when we're on the plane, okay? This is on our journey back, not going, because so on our way going there, we had a layover in Charlotte, North Carolina. On our way back, we had a layover in Chicago, okay? So we're coming back and we had a layover in Chicago. So our flight was supposed to leave Chicago at 10. We were supposed to get to Memphis International at 12 p.m., okay? So I look at my clock and it's 10:01. And I said to my husband, I said, babe, we supposed to be on the plane already. What's going on? And he was like, what time is it? I'm like, it's 10:01. So as soon as he looked at his phone, and we was flying American, so he pulled up his app. And when we pull up the app, it changed and it said the plane will be leaving at 10:15. So he said, well, now it's saying we're leaving at 10:15. I said, yeah, but we were supposed to leave at 10. So even if we're leaving at 10:15, we should be boarding now, because the plane always board 15 minutes before the plane leaves. So he was like, babe, just calm down. You know, don't get yourself worked up. And he knows that I get worked up because I'm not used to this whole flying thing. We've been flying for about 4 or 5 years now. But even though it's been 4 or 5 years, to me, it's still like it's brand new, because we've been traveling for over 20 years, and probably our first 15 years of traveling has been by car or bus, you know. And I mean, I'm talking about from California to New York, we would get in the car and we would roll. Do you hear me? People be like, y'all drive all the way to New York, y'all drive all the way to... Yes, we do. And so, but we started flying, like I said, about 5 years ago. And so then 10:30 rolled around. We still haven't left the airport. So somebody comes over the intercom at 10:30 and like, we're sorry for y'all delayed. We're having some technical issues with the plane. And so we're not going to leave now until 11 o'clock. You're talking about an hour later. So then I started getting a little bit anxious. I'm like, 11? I'm like, nope. I'm like, babe, we in Chicago. We 7 hours away from home. Let's just go get a rental car and let's just roll out. He was like, no, just calm down, just come. And he just kept trying to tell me, hey, calm down. And so I decided to go ahead and stop aggravating him, because I can tell he was getting irritated, because I was tapping him on his arm probably like every 2 minutes, like, you sure you don't want to get a rental car? You sure you don't want to get a rental car? You know, and I kept expressing how I don't feel comfortable with getting on this plane. They got technical difficulties. You know, I'm like, we got a daughter at home. And I'm going to tell y'all how fearful I got. I got so fearful that I called my granddaughter. I also texted my daughter and told her that I loved her. And she probably didn't know. She was like, I love you too. But I'm pretty sure in her mind, she was like, why is she texting me that? You know, but I'm like, Jay, I love you, you know. And I FaceTime my granddaughter, and she didn't answer her phone. And because I was getting worried, because I'm like, if I'm going to get up in this plane and die, I need to let my princess know that I love her. And so to make a long story short, you all, we get in the plane and I'm fearful. So when I get on the plane, I'm like, man, I'm just hoping nothing happens. Because, you know, like I said, I ain't with this whole flying thing. I would do it now, but I'm still not feeling it, okay? So we get on the plane, and so I'm looking around trying to see if anybody else perhaps have the look on their face that they're feeling like I'm feeling. I'm looking for somebody that I can relate to. So I'm looking around, and everybody just, they good. They okay. Nobody looks worried. Nobody looks anxious. And so I'm like, am I the only one in the plane that's concerned that we've been late over an hour because this plane got technical issues. Am I the only one concerned about that? But nobody was worried. And the reason nobody was worried because everybody on the plane, they trusted that the pilot was going to get them from where they are to where they was trying to get to, which was Memphis, Tennessee. So wherever they trusted that pilot was going to get them to their destination. So in that very moment was a lesson for me, you know, on my Better Woman, Better Wife journey. First of all, my lesson was faith and worry don't go together. Either you're going to trust God or you're not, but you can't be trusting God and worrying at the same time. Just like those people, they just trusted the pilot. They weren't going to worry about either they was going to worry or they was going to trust the pilot. And that's what we have to do. We have to trust the pilot of our lives, which is God. We have to trust that he's going to get us from point A to point B. He's going to get us from where we are to what our purpose is and what our final destination is. We have to trust that, but faith and worry don't go together. That was number one. And number two, I learned that we do have to trust the pilot of our lives to get us to where he would have us to be in life. And so with that, that was a lesson for me, you know, with the faith and worry. That was a test for me. You know, is your faith as strong as you think it is? You know, because here it is, you're the only one on the plane worrying about it, you know, or appear to be worried. I'm going to say it like that appeared to be worried. So those were the two things that I learned. We have to trust the pilot of our lives to get us to where we need to be. And number two, faith and worry don't go together. And so the plane takes off in the air, you all. And so about 30 minutes after the flight, the pilot comes over the intercom and he said, our altitude is 31,000 feet. That's what he said, 31,000 feet. And so because I had this little fearful moment going on, the little shutter, the little blind or whatever you want to call it, it's not a blind, the little shutter that covers the window, it was down. So when he said, you are now 31,000 feet in the air, that's your altitude. And so when he said that, something said to me, let up the shutter or the little covering of the window. So I let it up. And usually I don't do that. And that's unique for me because like I told you earlier, I have a fear of flying. And so even though I fly now, I'm still not really comfortable with it. So I normally let my husband or if my daughter is with me, I usually let them have the window seat and I sit in the aisle seat because I don't even want to see what's out there because I'm scared of heights. So I don't want to know how far up in the air I am. So this time, some kind of way, and I think because I really wasn't paying attention when we got on the plane, I ended up by the window. So something said, let up the little shutter by the window. So I let it up, you all. And when I let it up, when I tell you the view was spectacular, you know, I can see every house, I can see every building, I can see every road, every body of water, I can see the clouds. I mean, I literally had a bird's eye view. And when I say bird's eye view, I mean an elevated view is what I had. I had an elevated view and it was awesome. And I'm like, man, look at this view. Because my view, so the view, when I tell you all that I had a bird's eye view, and when I say bird's eye, I mean I had an elevated view, and the view was so spectacular at a different altitude. It was because I had reached a different altitude that my view or my perspective was different. And so that was also a lesson that I wanted to share with you all. When we're trying to get our life, first of all, your attitude is going to determine your altitude, and your altitude is going to determine your perspective. Let me say that again because I know I talk fast and I twist my words sometimes. Your attitude will determine your altitude, and your altitude will determine your perspective of how you see things. You know, so your attitude can take you to the next level in life. And when you get to the level, the view ain't the same when you go to a different level. And see, that's what God is trying to do for us on our Better Woman, our Better Wife journey. He's trying to take us to the next level. He's saying, sis, I'm trying to take you 31,000 feet and you're trying to stay ground level. You know, I'm trying to take you 50,000 feet, but you're trying to stay at ground level, at ground zero. I'm trying to take you 100,000 feet, but you want to stay on the ground. And what you don't know, it's a spectacular view at the top. It's a different perspective at the top, but you got to stop your ground thinking, your ground speaking, your ground doing, and you got to get to the next level. But your attitude is going to determine your altitude when you do that. And so this is what I wanted to share with you all today in my 5-minute devotion. I probably have went over 5 minutes now because I got a little bit passionate when I was speaking. But you all, it's time out for games. It's time out for this princess mode that we're in, this bridal mode that we're in. We have to go to the next level in life and allow God to take us to a whole different altitude, and our perspective have to change. Notice I said to you all that I've been flying for over the last 5 years, but for the first 15 years, I would not fly anywhere with my husband. But just think about it. Before I got on the first plane that I got on, the first flight that I took ever in life was to New York City. Before I ever stepped foot on that plane, guess what had to change first? My attitude about flying had to change. And then once my attitude changed, my behavior changed. Okay, so it starts with the mind first. Your attitude changed. And then when my attitude changed about flying, I was able to go to a different altitude. But first, my attitude changed, and I was able to go to a different altitude. And then when I went to a different altitude, I had a whole different perspective about flying. Because one of the things I thought about when you fly, I'm like, man, where it normally took us 24 hours to get there, we was there in 4 hours. We weren't as tired as we normally be when we're driving those long drives. So you get there and you still have energy to actually enjoy the trip. And then you were able to see so much. You can see a lot when you're driving too, which is, we still like our road trips. We still like our road trips now, but you still see a lot too when you're up in the air. And so I just want to encourage you to not only get your life, get your best life, get your purpose life, get your peaceful life, get the life that God designed for you to have. How about getting that life? And so that's all I have for you today. And on that note, I want to say be blessed and be better.